This is the Transforming Anxiety podcast with mindfulness teacher Kelly Hanlon McCormick. And today is episode number 264, Doing Silly Hard Things. My intention for this conversation is that by understanding more about why humans do hard things, we can create a more solid how when we want to do hard things. Welcome in. It's the Transforming Anxiety podcast, episode number 264, Doing Silly Hard Things. I'm so glad you're here. Hey there. Welcome in today. How are ya? I hope this finds you well, that you're doing all right as we get into July. What? And the second half of the year? What the heck? I know. So I recently got back from a vacation to the mountains in Colorado, and I got to thinking while I was out there about how we humans do hard things. Like we choose to do hard things. Silly hard things sometimes. And as someone who studies mindfulness and thoughts and feelings and really tries to understand the actions of humans, I was wondering about this seeming paradox, because we also like things that are easy, right? That are routine, that are habitual. We really crave comfort and familiarity and simplicity. And we seem to also like to do things that are inherently challenging, things that push us way past what we're comfortable with, things that are honestly pretty damn difficult for us to accomplish. So I was thinking about this, and I got to thinking about you and how this all ties into anxiety and emotions and really just what we want and how we can live our best lives. Like I was literally thinking about all this as I was hiking Gray's and Torrey's peaks out in Colorado. These are two of the 14ers out there. 14ers is a term for I think there's like 58 mountains in the Colorado Rockies that are 14,000 feet or taller. And listen, it's hard, but it's not like the hardest thing to do at all, not by a long shot, right? Like the base camp at Mount Everest is like at 17,600 or something. So hiking to 14,000 feet is tough, but it's doable. Anyway, it's about as hard a thing as I'm going to do, and I'm aware of that. And while I was out there, I was thinking about us. I was thinking about doing hard things, and I made the offhanded comment to another hiker that I passed that, hey, we sure have a silly idea of what fun is, don't we? And the other hiker kind of laughed and agreed that, yes, there were certainly easier things to do with our time, but also that what we were up to while we were out there was totally, completely, utterly enjoyable. Like so satisfying and fulfilling and gratifying. Is it fun? I don't know. Maybe not. Like you can't breathe well. Sometimes the grade is literally 60 or 70%, which makes it feel like you need to use your hands and scramble up the side of a mountain, as in like up towards the sky. So it's maybe not fun. I don't know. But then you get up there. Like you stand on top of a 14,000 foot mountain and you're the tallest thing around. You're literally on top of the world, it feels like. And it's like, wow, look at this view. Look what I did. Look at these other people doing weird and hard things around me. My friend Holly Whitaker, she says this, I think she wrote this in her book too. Do things other people aren't willing to do so that you can live a life others can't live. And it's so true. All right, so back to hard things humans do. Here's some research and stats for you. In 2023, Strava, which is a fitness app, they reported a 20% increase in marathon runners over 2022. Like races all over the country are now selling out. For instance, Charlotte, they saw their marathon numbers double in recent years. So in researching this episode, I even came across an article about how people are buying furniture they have to assemble. And the implication was that there's a challenge involved in that purchase versus just picking up a dresser or a table that's like ready to go. That was not what I was expecting to find. Of course, daily exercise, that's another example I saw as I researched this. We realize that it's kind of inconvenient, right? It takes time. There are oftentimes much more enjoyable things to do with our hours, but it's like they say, right? Easy choices make life harder, and hard choices make life easier, right? So why do we do this? Why do we seek out challenges? Why do we do silly, hard things sometimes? This is one of the questions I was asking myself, like just kind of pondering as I was hiking, like very slowly hiking up those peaks last week. Why do we do this? Why do we like this? Why do we do this? And then we do it again? Because those aren't the first 14ers I've done, and I'm sure they won't be the last. I continue to do this. I go back out there. I drive all the way out to Colorado with the express purpose of doing this. Just like people keep signing up for marathons. Just like people keep trying to solve math problems that have been unanswerable for decades. We keep showing up. We keep trying. We keep doing it. What? Why? So it turns out there are a few reasons that we do hard things. This is the whole effort paradox. We like ease and comfort. I mean, think about this. We will adjust the thermostat by 1 degree so that we can be more comfortable, right? If we're sitting and we get like a little stiff, or if we have an itch, we will absolutely move so that we can get back to good. We go to great lengths to get back to ease and comfort. It's pretty wild. But at the same time, we also like doing hard things. We like to challenge ourselves. We like to continuously grow and see progress and put ourselves into difficult situations. So think about effort for a second. Effort is the difference between our potential and our reality. So, I don't know, let's go back to high school for a second. Think about algebra or geometry. Good grief, take geometry. That was way less fun than algebra, if you ask me. The difference between the potential you have in a geometry class and the amount you truly understand it, how well you can do it, and the grade that you get is effort. That's the difference. That's what distinguishes potential from reality. You might do well in geometry if you try, right? If you show up and apply yourself, if you put in the effort. Most of us are not going to ace that class without some effort, right? We have to exert something in order to succeed, yeah? But here's what sucks about effort. It's expensive. Like, it costs you something in order to try. You have to pay attention, you have to practice, you have to come prepared and ready and rested and clear-headed. So it's expensive when you think about asking yourself to do something like learn hard math skills, learn a foreign language, learn how to ride a skateboard, learn how to play an instrument, anything. It requires effort, and effort is costly. So that's the rub. Because let's just be honest, there are things we are not willing to put effort towards. For instance, I could learn how to play the ukulele. I'm just not going to put in that kind of effort. Now, in that case, and in a lot of cases, it's because I don't want to learn how to play the ukulele. That doesn't interest me. I am willing to put in the effort to train and take care of myself and then drive out to Colorado and apply myself so that I can climb tall things. That I am willing to do. It does interest me. So the effort comes a little more easily because I'm bought in. All right? So, okay, yes. Why do we do this? Why do we do hard things? All right, a few reasons why. One is that it's a bonding, unifying experience for humans. So think about something difficult you've done. Like maybe you've done a long race, maybe you've climbed a mountain, maybe you've been involved in a tough work project, or you've raised kids with someone. These are difficult things, and they bond humans together. Like you have those moments where you look at someone who's experiencing the same hard thing you're experiencing, and you're like, my goodness, look at us. Look at what we're doing. And it brings you closer, even to strangers, like people whose names you don't know. It bonds you to them. This happens every time I go out to Colorado and climb 14ers. Now, let's consider some alternative for a moment, right? Things like driving down the interstate. This is decidedly not a bonding experience. Have you noticed? It's easy. Most of us are doing this on autopilot. Like for better or worse, we are. Most of us are in a hurry. It's a nuisance that we're having to be on the interstate. We aren't interested in it. We don't really feel like we've achieved something when we get where we're going. It's more like, thank God that's over. So we look around at the cars on the interstate with us and we think, you, right? Road rage is an issue, at least in part, because driving alongside each other on the highway is not a bonding experience. We don't look at the cars around us and think, man, we're really doing this together. We think, get out of my way, right? Same with the internet. It is not hard to type a nasty comment online where you're hiding behind a screen and you're basically anonymous if you want to be. It's the easiest thing ever. You don't have to look at another human. You can let your emotions just take over and boom, you bang out some awful comment and hit post and you're done. It's not hard. So it doesn't unite us. We don't struggle together, so it doesn't bond us together. So this is a cool side effect of doing hard things. It brings us closer to other people. Humans need other humans. We seek to belong and to connect with other people. And unifying ourselves through struggle, through challenge, through difficulty, it's one way to do that. We belong with others who do the same silly, hard things. Okay, another upside to doing hard things is that we do truly value effort. There's a reward at the end of it, right? You've heard people say things like anything worth doing is hard, or anything worth doing is going to be difficult. These kinds of sentiments, right? This is true. When you have everything laid out in front of you, like think of a really easy, kindergarten level jigsaw puzzle. It's not rewarding when you finish that. It was literally just a matter of time before you completed it. But when you look at something and at first you think, oh man, this is confusing, this is tough, then you know you're going to feel something when it's done. When you finish a 1,000-piece puzzle, it's way more satisfying than when you finish a 100-piece puzzle. When you do the Thursday New York Times crossword puzzle, it's way more fulfilling than the Monday version. When you ski a black hill, it's more of a rush than when you ski a green hill because it's harder. Even sillier things like if you read a 250-page romance novel, that's fun. But if you read a 500-page novel that's real heady and it requires you to look up a few words in the dictionary, that feels like an accomplishment. Also, if you boil pasta and you dump a jar of sauce over it, you're like, yep, we're going to have dinner. But if you spend time chopping vegetables and there are multiple steps to the recipe and it really requires attention and patience, then you know you're in for a treat. We value effort. So again, there's this paradox, right? We really value relaxing and simplicity and we love to make things easy, but we also really value effort. We value things that require something, that take something out of us. We appreciate it when someone, whether it's us or someone else, puts in some effort. We recognize that. And on some level, we're like, yeah, I see that. I value that. Frozen pizza and sitting on the couch and all, that's good too. But we sometimes need the struggle, right? That friction, the grit sometimes. We value it. Okay. Also, We get stronger when we do hard things. We show ourselves what we're made of. We have a real tangible result or experience or outcome that we can point to, and we can say that I did that. Like climbing mountains, there's a reason we all pull out our phones and take pictures on top of those peaks. And it's not only because of the views. Partly, the views are amazing. But we want a way to say, look, I'm here. I did this. I hiked up a really tall mountain. Same with a race, right? We get a medal. We have a time. We take photos to document these accomplishments. So we get stronger by doing hard things. And then we get the sense that we can do things we want, right? We can keep growing. We can achieve more than maybe we thought was possible. I remember this call I had with a teacher of mine a few years ago. This was with my teacher Meadow. And I was low level complaining about something that felt hard in my business. I don't even remember what. And she was like, dude, what are you talking about? She goes, you'll hold plank pose every morning for like 5 minutes, but you don't want to do this? And she reminded me that part of the reason I do the kind of yoga that I do is because it's hard. I don't do real stretchy yin yoga where we're sitting around chanting and, just that more chill, relaxing flow stuff. It's the kind of yoga that has you upside down with sweat dripping off your nose half the time. It's tough. And she was like, this is the same thing. Treat your business like plank pose. That sunk in for me. I do like hard things. We humans like hard things. But sometimes we only like the hard things we like, Like we like a certain brand or family of hard things. And we forget the other hard things are just hard things. Same. Hold plank pose. Figure out how to launch the next thing. It's the same thing. They're both hard. But who cares? Just do it. That was helpful for me. It was really illuminating. I still recall that conversation when I bump up against something that I don't really want to do, or when I get confused business-wise. Because for some reason, for me, it's not as fun of a hard thing as planks are or mountains are. It just doesn't feel as good. I don't know. But when I remember it's the same, it's just hard in a different way. It's like then I can calm my thoughts down enough to get some traction. Which, let's talk about this for a minute. It's such a mental game doing hard things. Have you noticed how your mind plays a huge part in this? This is that old Henry Ford quote, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. It's like when you're at a certain physical level, right? You're fit enough, but it's definitely all in your mind from there. You can be physically ready to climb a mountain or to run a race, but if your mind isn't in it, you're hosed. This is the same with a presentation at work. This is the same with having a hard conversation or putting together furniture from IKEA, whatever is your jam. It's all a total mind game, and recognizing that is so helpful. Okay, I can't, of course, not mention this other upside of doing hard things. I think this is probably the most obvious one, but this bears talking about. And that is the dopamine hit, right? That rush of endorphins and feel-good hormones that we get when we perceive that we're winning, that we're being successful, that we're at the top of our game and we're doing something worthwhile. Of course, we love that zing of feel-good neurotransmitters that flies around us. So that's maybe the most immediate, maybe the most basic, but like I said, absolutely worth mentioning. It feels good. Like it actually feels good. We have good feelings when we are winning, when we succeed, when we try to do something, when we put forth the effort, right? When we change the potential to our reality, when we show up and we have to work at something. And then when we achieve it, like magic, right? It's pretty spectacular. I have this hunch that doing things you don't want to do, which is kind of related to this, doing hard things, being willing to be uncomfortable in the interest of a greater goal or a long-term payoff. I really think this is like having the master key to life. Like it's the biggest pro tip going, which is another way to say being willing to do silly, hard things may be one of the biggest secrets to living the life you want to live. I don't know. Try it on. See what you think. See what would change in your life. Like, how would this change things or alter things and point you in a different direction? I think about this quite a bit, actually. I think about this when I'm having conversations with my kids or with my partner, with my own damn self when I'm trying to figure out where I'm stumbling or confused or in resistance to progress. Doing hard things sounds good, but understanding why humans are compelled by hard things and what makes us tick this way, I think is really useful. You can start to see the scaffolding behind it and understand where or why it's maybe not quite coming together. Sometimes we find that we aren't doing the hard things we want or need to be doing in order to get where we want to go. And I think understanding what is behind this helps. Yeah? All right. That's it for today. Doing silly hard things. I want to hear from you. What silly hard things do you like to do? What silly hard things do you want to do? So don't forget, you can hit me up via featuredup.com/transforminganxiety. You can write me a note there, or you can send me a voicemail. Super cool. All right. I will see you at the same time, same place next week for more Transforming Anxiety. And until then, please take care. Thank you so much for being here, for listening, for doing this work alongside me. Thank you for sharing this with your friends and your family, anyone who, could use the support and the guidance, who could use these teachings and practices. Thank you for sharing your stories with me, telling me about your experiences and asking your questions. I'm here with you. Let's do this together. Transforming Anxiety.